All right, let's take some surfaces and play with ink. This is a piece of Yupo. I'll just start with Yupo. That's good. And you're welcome to go through any of these. For those taking videos, pick stuff up. I know that the lighting is everything, so feel free to go through, and I'll show you what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start with some isopropyl alcohol. Again, this is 91% or higher. I'm working on the media matte, but because I'm using alcohol ink, I wanna remove the craft matte, okay? Because this is a white Teflon fabric, and if you get alcohol ink on this, it'll stain it indefinitely. It's the only ink that does that. So I'm just gonna work right on my glass. Then I'll take some colors. I also like to use this little square to kind of know which lid goes with which bottle. I'm one of those people. If you're not, great. You want to throw caution to the wind and just put them in a pile, good for you. But if you really rely on the color, it is important that, because ink is going to go inside that lid, and if you put the purple on the pink and you go to add it, it's still going to be purple. All right, let's do some colors. I'll even do a little sienna, and I can play around with color as we go. I don't need to open all of them, but one thing I will tell you is that the inks are designed to be left open. The bottles, even though this has a drying time of about 7 to 10 seconds, as soon as you open it, there's a little bit of ink, and you can even see it right here in Glacier. There's a little dark dot of ink. Do you see it right there? As soon as you open it, you can see it right there on Laguna as well. It creates a vacuum, and it sucks up some of the ink from the bottle and just creeps it up, and it leaves it there. So that allows the ink to come out, but it doesn't allow the air to go back in.
Nice.
And so when you're using them, you want to leave them open because you want a little of this, a little of that, a splash of this, and then when you're done, cap them all up. Alloys, those should be capped because we have to shake these, right? This has a pigment. If you don't cap it, well, that's on you, literally. So you just want to make sure you have the cap on there, literally. So we'll start with isopropyl, and I'm going to take some of that and just put it right on my Yupo. And here's why I want to do that. I'll start shaking some color and watch what it looks like when the alcohol hits that isopropyl compared to the paper. See how it's like kind of suspended, almost like a gel?
Oh, wow.
When you put different colors into that isopropyl, it's going to allow you to blend them in very different ways. So I'll just start with some ink, and we're gonna take the air blower, and we're gonna start moving this color around. Okay? And when I move that color around, you can see that that Laguna, that Gumball, that Glacier, those colors, even though we shook them on top of each other, did not create one color, because we started with this. That kept every shake suspended. You may not have seen it, but when we blow it out, that's what's giving all of those unique individual colors. If you didn't start with alcohol and just threw all of your color down there, that's what you end up with. Dark mix that you can't blend on contact. We can still go in and blend it. We can go in and add kind of a drip of that. Alcohol inks will always react with another solvent, but also this isopropyl has a different drying time. Right? It stays wet much longer. You can see that it's still wet. So let's start playing around with alloy and even some blending solution. Alloys are super intense. So if I could do half a drop on here, I would, but I can't. So you can see already that just putting it on there, it's just like liquid gold, liquid metallic. I want to use a little blending solution because blending solution is going to do something different than isopropyl. Blending solution is going to blend these colors, but it also breaks up the party a little bit better, I think. So I can take this, and now I'm going to move that alloy around, right? So you can see that metallic just moving around, and this blower is just allowing me to move it the way I want to move it, right? Now this pile, hate it, don't want it. Okay, I can go in with isopropyl or blending solution. People say, well, how do you know which to use what? As long as you use some blending solution at some point, you're good to go. But this is just going to allow me to just create a totally different effect, and this blower also gives me full control as to breaking up. So watch that alloy right there. Alloys, you see how they want to come back together? They almost have this charge that when they go apart, they want to come back together. That's what they're designed to do. Whereas a mixative is just like, yeah, like they just go everywhere. So this, I can break this apart if I want, just with a little air. And you can see on here that I'm not squeezing it completely. I'm just using a little bit of air to move it. That's what's giving me full control over how I want to move this color. Even that, oh yeah, right? So wherever that isopropyl is, that's just gonna stay wetter. Now here's what I'm talking about, when to use blending and when to use isopropyl. If you want something to be more fluid, so let's say you look at this and you're like, yeah, but I don't like that and that and that. I want everything to flow a little bit more. This is not only going to flow the alcohol ink, it's also going to lighten all of my colors. So this is just gonna start the party all over again. But it's gonna start creating just amazing undertones because that isopropyl, as I mentioned, starts breaking that apart. See how it blends that color just totally different? And as it sits, you can just kind of let it do its thing. So usually when I'm doing alcohol paintings like this, I'll kind of get it where I pretty much want it and I'll leave it. Because as you leave it, you're gonna see that these blends will start to happen. Those alloys will just start to clump together and migrate. So anything that you want to change, but once you're happy with it, just set it aside. This much alcohol will probably dry in, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so, or you can use a heat tool. You can use a heat tool, but man, it's gonna make you happy. That's all I'm saying. It's gonna make you really happy. But beautiful, beautiful background when it comes to working with this. So let's take another color. I'm just gonna set this off on my media mat. Let's take one of these. Take one of these panels. I'll throw that in there. Let's start here. A little isopropyl. Let's do some rosewood. Rosewood is a yummy color. Yeah. Rosewood is a really deep red, almost like aged mahogany. That's what it is. Dijon. Little Dijon. We'll go in and do this aloe. Let's do statue. Statue's going to be a nice bronze. And I'm going to put that on at the same time. Because you can. There's no right or wrong as to when you want to do it. Because the aloe is always going to stay separate. So it's all sitting in there, sitting in that pile, and here we go. Let's see what happens. Then we're just going to start moving that color around. And this is where you just get all of those crazy tones of rosewood. Dijon has kind of some grayish green in there. And we're going to take just a shake of blending solution just to try to mix it up. Because you have to break up the party. There we go.
Oh, wow.
It's so wild. You cannot screw it up. You can't. Because if you hate it, you can literally drip alcohol on the whole thing and it's an instant do-over. Right? It's an instant do-over. Regular alcohol and it's gone. And we can still go in with a heat tool. So see if I want to dry that. See how it's trying to move back? See that right there? I'm like, no, 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 no. Yeah. So you can use a heat tool, you can use a hair dryer, and you can get things to kind of freeze where you want it to be. Another great thing is using different tools to apply our solvents. So I've been just using a dropper just to kind of drip it on there. But other things we can use is mister, right? And a mini mister, there's no problem spraying isopropyl alcohol. There is a problem if you try to spray any of this other stuff, including blending solution. You should never put blending solution in a bottle and spray it. This has a resin that's very sticky. It's what bonds everything. And if you happen to spray blending solution and you spray it in your eyes, you can't rinse it out.
Oh, wow.
If you put water in it, it turns to gel. So it's like, that's why we don't spray it. That's why it's not in a spray bottle. So again, don't spray it. Isopropyl, we can spray. If you spray it in your eyes, you'll just know not to do it again. It's gonna sting like a motherfucker. So then you'll know, like, okay, don't do it again. But what's cool about spraying it is we're gonna get something totally different that happens to our background. So see what's going on, the fact that I'm letting it air dry. Do you see these cool little dark rings that are showing up in the ink? Ooh, awesome. If we would have dried it, we wouldn't get that. But I can take this, I'll move this tile out of the way. And I'm going to keep my distance. I'm going to see where I'm spraying. I'm going to keep my distance because I want to create little droplets on there. So when this alcohol hits this, you're going to see that it immediately creates these almost like bleach marks. Can you see those little dots?
Oh, wow.
Right? And as you spray it, it's instant. But the longer you let it dry, alcohol kind of wants to self-heal. So if you go in with a blower or a heat tool and you dry that before it has a chance to go back smooth, you get a really unique texture in your background that's just done just by spraying it on.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Isn't that cool? And we could still dry this. This isn't fully dry. I could go in with a heat tool, but I love just seeing all of those little textures, all those little dots. And again, you can look at this and be like, this is terrible. I'm going to totally do it over. And you can. Drip alcohol on it and off you go. And I mean, the thing with really a lot of things with mixed media, you're only as good as your next layer. So if you don't like the way something is and you're like, oh, I hate this, don't give up. Just put something else on it, right? It's going to change the way everything works. If you want to create kind of some cool backgrounds, let's show you the rainbow background. This is a nod to Jennifer McGuire, who I saw on YouTube do this, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, when I saw it, it was just one of those, I can't even believe that just happened. All right, so I'm going to clean this up with a little hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is the cheapest way to clean your media mat, because it is a solvent, but it stays wet, it stays gel. So that's going to allow me just to go in and move all of this off. If you have any really thick areas, it'll just eat it right off. Because if you just try to go in with alcohol, it's going to evaporate after the first time you swipe, so you can't really scrub off any of the stuff. Sanitizer's cheap. Yeah, don't use blending solution to clean. Or do, and thank you.
Exactly.
$5 a bottle. Thank you for being tidy. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a protractor. Okay, I didn't even know what this was or where I was going to get one. I'm like, do I get that at Home Depot? I know people use it. I know people use it in school. Obviously, I did not pay attention. They say it was geometry. They're like, it's for angles. I'm like, I thought that was that little metal thing. And they're like, no, that's a compass. I'm like, I thought that was when you were lost. And they're like, well, that's a compass too. Did anyone have one of these in their house? In your house?
I do, yes.
Seriously? What do you do with it?
Not much anymore,
Oh,
but
okay.
yes,
All right.
I have it.
Do you?
Tired.
You saw it too? I went to the dollar store because I'm like, I said to Mario, I'm like, is this a Home Depot purchase? And he's like, I don't think so. I'm like, is it like a school thing? He goes, I don't know. Yeah. So I was at the dollar store because I think this is the thing. It came with like a ruler. I'm like, that's it. Yeah. All right. So basically, the idea is the fact that you have a handle and you have a long bar to apply color. And what I did is just put a piece of Velcro on there. The same Velcro. I know. See what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, that's a duh moment. The ink tool, it's the same idea. So we just took hook Velcro, put it on here, and then it's just felt from the craft store. But instead of it being a circle, we did it in a strip and kind of wrapped it. And once I do, I just kind of squeeze this just to really get it to grab on to the Velcro on both sides. Then you're going to take your colors. So we want to do, something rainbow-esque for this. It doesn't have to be. I mean, surely you can do whatever you want to do as far as your color choices, your color palette, and what you want it to be. If you're going to just do water or winter, you can stick to different shades of blues or purples, but we're going to embrace the rainbow on this one. Why not? We'll take some different papers. There's our brush metallic. There's some silver sparkle. We can do this on Yupo, whatever you want. I'll just take a piece of Yupo heavy stock as well. It's just wild. I'm telling you. It's so duh. But really. All right. Then I'm just going to go in with my colors and we're going to ink it up. So I'm just going to go right on the edge and we're just going to squeeze some ink on there and go into that motion. Now, if you overlap kind of your pinks and yellows, you'll get some nice orange. And honestly, the more you use it, like I have a piece of felt that's still on it and I've used the same piece of felt for a long time, especially if you're sticking to the same colors. So kind of the juicier it gets, like even though it's dry, when you put more alcohol ink on it, it like reactivates the stuff that was dried in there. So I find that the juicier the better on this particular one. All right, do a little glacier on there. You can go in and do a little vineyard. Oh, that's boysenberry. I'll do some vineyard too, because I can. Why not? All right. See, they're excited about it, and I haven't even done it. I'm telling you. All right. So then you're just going to take this. Now you could tape this down if you wanted to. I mean, obviously you can see everything I've done kind of has a little starting point. So you could tape it or just hold it. And you're just going to hold this, and you're just going to start swiping this on. I know. Seriously? I know. Shut it right now. Like that's amazing. Now, sparkle, when you do sparkle, as soon as you ink it, it dulls, right? You see that and you're like, where'd the sparkle go? As soon as the alcohol evaporates, it's gonna be sparkly. So, I could let it air dry, or I can just use a heat tool and you just watch it sparkle. There you go. As soon as that solvent evaporates, you're back to sparkly card. That's it. So, die cut, I know, it's like, all right, so what you can do, if you wanted it to be kind of drippy, right, we can take our alcohol, and now we can hold it up whichever way we want, and we can just spray this, and just start getting our colors to just start dripping down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's our blending. I know. And this is, there you go, I know. Isn't that good? Sweet mother of glory, that is amazing. Every time you do it, you're just like, oh. Yeah, an isopropyl, it just doesn't even smell good. It smells like doctor. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go in. Yeah, just 91% isopropyl, so 91% or higher. Yep, that's all you need. And you don't have to heat dry this, really. You can set it aside and let it air dry. It'll even blend more But I just want to show you that it still stays sparkly. You can see how that alcohol is evaporating. Can you see it? You watch that edge? It's going from like dull to sparkle right before your eyes. So it's just not a heat factor. I don't want you to think I have to heat it up, because that's what I saw on the video. I'm just using a heat tool just to evaporate the solvent quicker for the purpose of the demo. But you can see right there, look at that now, right? When you think a rainbow can't get any better, you just hose it down with some alcohol. And that's really how, I mean, that's how all of these are done. So the technique works exactly the same, you know, whether it's done on Yupo, and I even like the fact that it just kind of stopped, and then I'm like, you can see where my brain went. So first I was spraying it, and I was getting all these little dots. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I just kept hosing it down, and then it was just going. I'm like, whoa, I like where this is going. And I think the background is just, it's also great because we can use lift ink. We can still go back. Remember, alcohol ink will always react with solvent. So even though this was done who knows when, if you wanted to break up the background, we can go back in with our alcohol and just spray some droplets. So like spray and kind of see what's happening. I like that. Yeah, just give it kind of a grungy color. And this could be something that you can stamp on. If you're going to stamp on anything non-porous, stays on, Yupo, VersaFine. You can emboss on it, you can do rubs, you can do any of that. But that's really what I like about working with it. And obviously you can change your palette. If you don't want to do full-on rainbow, you know, I speak fluent brews, you know. I'm happy with the brown, blue, purple, green kind of thing. But that could be your color blend as well. And you're still going to get that great kind of striation of color. I think that's a great effect, and that's how all of these swatches were done. I just kept taking the same thing, and really, it's like a weapon, man. Once you have this thing inked up, like nothing is safe. You were like rainbowing everything. You're like, woo. Yeah, it was just I mean, that was a great idea she had. Like, that was super genius to take ink, because let's face it, alcohol ink wants to replace itself. So even if I went in and tried to paint this on, when I put my next layer, it would actually push up against the previous layer, and you wouldn't get a blend. You get a rainbow, but it would have lines in it. And the fact that you put it all on simultaneously, that's just a smart blending tool, really, for that. All right. Any questions so far?
Yes, when can we expect to see the program?
Yeah. No, you can't. It's a doll. And really, this is Jennifer's idea. Like, that was very cool. I thought that was just an interesting way to apply ink, and to me that changed, like, I mean, I can't imagine you'd expect to come by this demo and see rainbows, but you know what? They were very cool, because when I saw it, I thought, well, that's really awesome. And then, of course, I wanted to just see how I could grunge up a rainbow, and I succeeded in that. And the more alcohol that you apply, so we'll rewind to this one. So you saw when I was inking the sparkle, did you see me do this? Where I just kept going. Even though it was on there the first time, I just kept going. The more color you put into the surface, the more intense it's going to be after we add this. Because remember I said that isopropyl is going to lighten the color somewhat. So if you did like one swipe where it was colored, but then you sprayed it with alcohol, it's still going to blend, but your pink is not going to stay as intense. Am I making sense? So the more color you put down, knowing you're going to spray alcohol, that's going to be the different result. So if I were to spray more alcohol, the color would even lighten to that. But pretty unique. I think it's just it's a lot of fun to work. And even on metallic, we're going to do another rainbow because we can. Wow. Ooh, hey pink color. It's going to be a little bonus right there. Just putting this color down. So I'm already thinking, you know, backgrounds like rock or Sedona, like, you know, using rosewood and Dijon and sienna, and yeah. I'm already thinking grungy layers. And even throwing in metallics. You know, if you plan on spraying it, you could do a little line of alloy. It is going to be metallic that goes across, but if you're spraying it, it could kind of break apart. I mean, this, yeah. A lot of people think we have product so far before the show, and we don't. It's like, now after the show is when we're inspired to go and play and make. Am I right, Zoe?
You're right.
She's like, I'm right. It's like, even though we've been making it, I knew I had that pink in the line of green, and I don't care. All right, I just want to see what's going to happen. Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, and I've really never dripped this way. Let's see what this is all about. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello to backs. Yeah.
That's nice.
rainbow rain.
Yeah, I know, but I'm already just thinking like really, sky backgrounds are just different ways to grunge. And then this, so you see when I kept misting down there, remember the alcohol creates those spots? So if I just lay it down so this doesn't overpower, it's gonna dry and it's gonna give me those little drips at the bottom. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And you're gonna get little felt fuzzies in there, but you can get rid of them. But yeah, if you watch it, you'll just see that that alcohol really evaporates super, super fast. It doesn't take long at all. Even though, I mean, we hose down that piece of paper, but we hose it down with alcohol, so it's different than water. And I love that crusty little bit right there. Yeah, look at that. Look at that paper. Isn't that good? Not metallic. I mean, to me, the metallic almost looks kind of pearly, like when I put the color on it. It doesn't look like when you put it over foil where it's reflected, but I still like just that reflection underneath. And again, you can stamp on it, you can do alcohol lift ink, you can really do anything that you want when it comes to working with those. So, any questions on anything?
What did you use to stamp the image?
So that is lift ink. I will go and steal the pad off the display. I'll be right back. An ink we released last year, I think, year before, they all run together. But it's an ink that is designed to lift translucent alcohol inks. It's really not designed to lift alloys or mixatives. It's not designed to lift a pigment. It's designed to lift a dye from the surface and transfer it. So I'll show you how it works. It comes in an ink pad and a re-inker. There's actually a need for both this time. Usually in our stamping world, the obvious use for a re-inker is to re-ink the stamp pad, but this actually has a technique use as well, right? So let me show you how that works. We'll take the stamp, right, Monica, a clean stamp. Yesterday, all these stamps, and I'm worrying about cleaning a stamp for no reason when I had a perfectly clean stamp right next to it. What is wrong with me? That was a waste of cleaning time. All right, so we're gonna take this, I can lift off the sparkle, I can also lift off the bupo, I can lift off of this drip. I can really lift off, I really wanna lift off this glue though. That could be cool. All right, we'll do a little bit of both. And then I'll take a piece of, let me do a piece of coated paper. Watercolors, okay, specialty stamping. I'm gonna take a piece of coating. And this could be specialty stamping, this could be glossy, but it's not Yupo, it's actually a cardstock. So I want something porous for the next part. I'll show you just what I mean. So I'm gonna take a stamp and I'm gonna take lift ink, and lift ink is clear, all right? So we wanna work on a clean stamp. If your stamp has ink on it, you'll wanna clean it, because lift ink will lift the ink off of your stamp and dirty your ink pad, all right? And we're just gonna tap that on there. And then we would go in, and we're just gonna stamp through this. So this one I'm gonna stamp, I'll stamp some flourish right here. Stamp it down, stamp with purpose, meaning just give it some good contact, no need for CPR. If you have a stamping tool, a stamp platform, anything like that, feel free to use that. We're gonna lift it off. Now when we do, that ink that was there is now transferred onto the stamp. So we have dry alcohol ink that is on our stamp, but believe it or not, this ink is designed to re-wet alcohol ink. Okay, if you ever try to put alcohol ink on your stamp, it dries right away. You're like, I'm gonna stamp with alcohol ink. You're like, no, you're not. You think you are, but you're really not. But this is going to keep it wet, so if I go to a piece of paper, I can now transfer that color onto something else, okay? And what we're getting is exactly how we lifted it. So darks, lights, exactly how this background was, dark and light, is exactly how it's transferred. But we still need to lift this. We haven't lifted it yet. That was just kind of the after effect. That's not what it was designed to do. This is what it was designed to. This was just like a, oh my God, we can do that too. Yeah, I always love those happy accidents. I do. So this, I'm just gonna wipe it off. That's just gonna clean it off my stamp. And now I need to lift this. And when we lift it, we need to lift with something porous, okay? A cloth isn't porous enough, so we need some type of paper towel, something that's gonna absorb the ink. And here's what we're going to do. I'll bring this right here. I'm gonna just start taking this and I'm gonna dab this down. And I'm going to look, see how it's lifting the ink? And I need to go to a clean part. Dab. So we're not swiping, okay? We're simply dabbing, we're lifting. And what this is doing is that's taking the alcohol ink that's there and it's lifting it off the surface. That's what the ink is there to do. And you'll kind of see that your picture is kind of developing. You can see that flourish starting to appear. And this is really, really light. And I just look, make sure I don't have a lot of ink. That's why it's important to have a clean part of your paper towel. Otherwise, you'll just be doing this all day thinking it's still lifting. And then I'm just gonna go in and just lightly buff that away. And that is our lifted image. Yeah, it's just a cool ghosted image into your background. And so we can stamp over the top of this, we can do rubs, but it's just a great ghosting effect with alcohol ink, right? Especially when we have our positive negative. Now, depending on how much lift ink you apply, that could change everything. You saw when I inked up the stamp, I was like, right? Really juiced it up because I knew that if I had more lift ink on my stamp and I went into that, it's gonna pull a lot of it back. So there's other ways that we can go in and lift. We're gonna take some of the re-inker. We're just gonna take a little drop of that, put it right on our media mat. This is what you would use to re-ink this when it dries. It's what it's for. But if we wanted to use a stencil, I'm gonna take a piece of blending foam. Because I'm gonna use a stencil. I don't wanna use felt because it's gonna catch into my stencil. So I'll just take that piece of foam. We'll find some sort of stencil. Doesn't really matter what I have open. I want to use what I don't. Nothing better than opening a new package, right? Where it's like, but you used this yesterday. I'm like, no, that was yesterday. All right, so now I'm going to take some foam and I'm just going to pick up that lifting. Just get it right on the foam. That was just a drop, all right? Then I'm going to take this and I'll just go in and I'm just going to pounce, okay? Could you go in and swipe and rub? You could, but you really don't need to. Because I want the lift ink to really do what it's supposed to do. And it is lifting this, believe it or not. It's getting onto the foam, which is why you need a re-inker, because if I put this back on my ink pad to get more lift ink, I've now transferred this onto my ink pad. So that's why I wanted to use a re-inker. So once my stencil is there, I'm going to lift it. So same thing. It's gonna go in and just start dabbing this up. And I'm gonna show you kind of a side-by-side of some different ways that we can go in and use a stencil. Because sometimes, especially like in mixed media, we want layers that are subtle, right? Sometimes we want something that's just, it looks like it's, I don't know, it's just part of something really, really subtle and soft. And that's what's happening here. But sometimes we want a layer to just be like in your face, like look at me, right? So this one you can you see how soft and subtle that is? That little pattern? And that was simply because I dabbed it and lifted it off. But if you want more color, like you really want to get down to the core, you can still go in and just use it the way you would. You would take that lift ink and really just start lifting that through a stencil. The same way we would just do normal ink blending, you could go in and lift that surface. And the more color that we add, the more lift ink we add, the more it's going to go down to the core of that paper, right? So you can see like our metallic on this side, we're actually exposing that metallic. You guys see that? Much brighter. And different substrates are going to be different. So for example, if I took a piece of Yupo and I did the same thing, Yupo is going to want to give up color way more than a metallic paper will, because metallic still has that layer of ink on it. Metallic has something that the alcohol ink is bonded to. So different substrates, where did the tool just go, people? Right here. Isn't that the case? Yeah. Everywhere, right in front. Nope. Okay. And you just start seeing it. You see it kind of come underneath it. But I'm not twisting and grinding, just dabbing and moving it around. But we still have to lift it. So even though we're pouncing and swiping, however it is that you apply it, we still want to go in and we still want to lift. Always with a clean paper towel. Look at this one. That's what's cool about stencils. You just get some really great magic that shows up. Some really cool pattern. How's your hand, Zoe? How's everyone's hand? I just see everyone just saw like Tim Holtz shot.
I lifted some weights.
Yeah, I I need to stop this live in my arm shape. No. But take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So cool. Yeah, so lip ink is like, it is magic. It's like, because everyone's like, how did you do that? You're like, well, I wrote with masking fluid, and then I did it, because I really have good penmanship, and then I inked it, and then I rubbed it off with an eraser. No, or you do lift ink. But that's what's unique. Lift ink was always designed to lift, but knowing that if you're going to use a stamp, you can actually stamp what you've lifted is just a bonus. It's really cool, because what I stamp with, this blue, is permanent. I mean, alcohol ink is permanent. So once I stamped it, that's immediately a waterproof ink. Yeah. Yeah, so many cool things that we can do with alcohol inks and in different ways, whether we're applying them or using the alloys or using isopropyl alcohol or using a protractor or just switching up our surface. Yeah, I can't wait to see what people start doing with all this new stuff. It's good. Yeah, for addicts. Rock. Yeah, thanks you guys. That was fun.
Thank
That was
you.
good fun. Yeah.